Welcome to the Urban Wine Club podcast. Pour a glass, sit back, and enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Urban Wine Club podcast. I'm Ari, and with me is...
Foti.
What's going on, Foti? We have a very special episode today. We have a unique and interesting guest. Foti, tell us a little more about him.
Our guest today is Drake Behrakis, a very well-respected businessman and philanthropist who's going to spend some time with us and tell us a little bit about what he's doing.
I love Drake. We all love Drake. Now you will too. So grab a glass and join us as we get to know Drake.
Welcome to the show, Drake.
Thank you.
It's been an honor to have you here. It's such a busy schedule that you took some time with us.
Yeah, we appreciate your time.
Right. And,
My pleasure.
Drake actually has some history with us.
We go back a ways. I can't remember what year we first met. Well, you may have met him separately from me. I don't know.
Probably because of our BC network.
I met you at Mazet.
Or at Mazet.
How's that?
Another Mazet connection because, we had that in one of our other segments. So 2003.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
when
yeah.
this great network was starting to brew.
And as soon as you mentioned you were a Boston College grad, that's it. That's
it.
all I
That's
need.
it.
That's
That's
it.
it.
You're already in.
Sorry, Harry.
That's where they're going to bounce me out of here.
Yeah.
But since 2003, between the restaurant, we also had some involvement growing our GreatBoston.com business back then. And then through that, we did plenty of events together, participated in many causes, raised some money for great situations.
Yeah.
So we've done quite a bit with Drake, but, I think it goes beyond what we've done with Drake. Drake has done quite a bit that we'd love to kind of have Drake, let us know what you're up to today.
Sure. No, thank you. Thank you both for having me. I've been, certainly, I guess, involved in all fronts. If you're gonna kind of slice me into different pieces, I'm a husband, I'm a father.
Yes,
Number one.
Family is, family's first and foremost, and family's always busy, always goes through changes, and you're always going to be a husband and a father for your entire life. Once you start having kids, so that doesn't change. So,
and your one son is kind of my neighbor at Tufts, right?
He's graduating Tufts this spring, so he's the oldest.
Already,
George.
So could I just ask a random question?
Sure.
I imagine your kids would be BC all the way, 100%, no ifs, ands, or buts. And when I first heard he was at Tufts, I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
I hope that's not a sore topic.
No.
Oh, yeah.
You know what?
You don't have to answer anything.
Obviously, I take a lot of pride in loyalty and respect, but you know what? Our children, when they become adults or young adults, they have to start making their own choices.
Correct.
So that was all on him?
That was all on him, yeah.
Did you want him to go to BC? I imagine you did.
Nah, you know what? I've always had I've never been a person that would expect all three of my children to go there. And first and foremost, I want to make sure it's the right fit.
Correct.
And it's what they want to do, and it's not that they're doing it because of dad. So,
Makes sense.
And George was pretty, he was pretty upfront with me at the beginning, based on the type of things he was interested in doing in his college life. BC wasn't on his radar, which was fine with me, actually. I didn't take it as a slight, or I thought it was a great. He made a great decision to look at schools that he felt were good fits for him. It's worked out perfectly.
He's local.
Yeah,
right. You still have him around.
I'm all for it. I grew up right on that campus, and I love it over there.
Yeah, it's a great school. There's no doubt about it. He's very happy there, and it was exactly the perfect fit for him.
Yeah, good for him.
But I did luck out. My daughter Zoe.
I was just going to ask you. At least have one.
She's at BC, so she's happy there. She's very excited. Nice. And then we'll see where the youngest is a junior in high school, Dimitri.
Junior, okay.
So he's starting to think, but he's got a ways to go. So
yeah,
okay. Well, keep us posted.
Yeah. And my wife Maria's fine. Again, families, parents, my sisters, my in-laws, my cousins, extended family. That's obviously first and foremost.
Absolutely, it is.
That's always a priority, and always number one.
We agree.
And then of course, we have day jobs.
Yeah.
So on the day job is pretty much the real estate, commercial real estate that I work here at, and that's pretty steady. That's going well.
Great.
And And then, I spend obviously a lot of time on the philanthropy, which is both, secular, non-secular, Greek-related, non-Greek related. So, and just to quickly highlight, probably the two biggest outside of our community is I'm still involved at Boston College. I'm a trustee there. And I'm also on the board of overseers at Brigham and Women's Hospital.
Oh, very nice.
So those are the two nonprofits I'm involved with outside. But everything else is all within the Greek American community.
Oh yeah, that's where we spent some good times.
Both on the church side, being involved locally, all the way up to national through Leadership 100. Involved here at the Metropolis, of course. And then being involved in organizations like the Hellenic Initiative, which is trying to help Greece, the National Hellenic Society, which I'm fortunate enough to be the chair, which is more of a cultural focus, maintaining our culture here in this country through programs and outreach. And I'm also involved, with a college over in Greece that's actually based out of Boston, the American College of Greece. So
is that in Thessaloniki?
That's in Athens.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. My wife is involved, which is nice because we have a good, good connection of all the, her family is originally from Thessaloniki, so she's involved at Anatolia College.
Yes.
ACT Thessaloniki. So
Yeah.
So you can see why it's an honor to have Drake here. He just listed 1,000 things. And
that's not all of them.
That's not all of them.
There's a lot.
There's more.
To grab you for 30 minutes is it's an honor. But,
that's great.
And
I had
Go ahead.
I just want to jump in, but so from our perspective, our generation was so tight in the Greek culture. I don't know if I'm just dating myself and I'm old, or has that completely kind of gone by the wayside? I feel like we're kind of like so enmeshed in American culture that the Greekness kind of fizzled out. I don't know if this is correct or not, but I would love to get a perspective maybe from somebody who, he's kind of in it.
Yeah.
Kind of
I'm second generation. My kids are, we're all born here. My parents were born here. So I think there's no doubt as you become more and more Americanized, as more and more generations of your family become entrenched in the American society, right? We are, there's no doubt because our vast majority of our time is spent in this country, and it's speaking English, it's,
so it's inevitable.
Work, education, it's inevitable, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't exactly say it's not the wrong word to say it's been diminishing because you can see areas where it has become a challenge and maintaining it, but we're entrenched here. I mean, we're not we're not in Greece. We're not a Greek-speaking culture here.
Correct.
And so, and the biggest change I think you'll see is not that we've maybe lost our own direction or let's say our Greekness, our heritage or our faith, but we're marrying interfaith, intercultural, and so we not only appreciate what made this country so great, which is a variety of different ethnic groups, but also, learning to, learn more about other cultures. And of course, you fall in love, right? You're not being,
it's interesting because I years ago I had a conversation with Metropolitan Methodios.
Yeah.
And the conversation led to, I don't know if he specifically brought this up or if it was within the conversation, but we basically came down with 3 generations. There's going to be barely any Greek.
Right.
Because you're Greek, you marry non-Greek, your child is half.
Right.
They marry a non-Greek, it's quarter. Right. And after that, what's left?
It gets diluted.
And how do you keep them within their culture?
Yeah.
I know for a lot of people, the culture is so rich and strong that even if you're not Greek, you could get sucked into it, which is how we used to be.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have been.
Hopefully
that's going to be enough.
There's a lot of things I can respond to that. One is you spoke about the richness. And I don't say we've taken it for granted because I think we have a lot of pride here in this country and a lot of love for our homeland and what it's contributed. And that hasn't been, I think, diminished at all because that's what has made us as Greeks in this country It's part of our fabric, part of our foundation, as well as what it's also contributed to the development of this country in the modern world anyway. So we have, a strong history that we can look back towards. I think the challenge becomes is how do you maintain that and preserve it and keep it as a priority so you don't forget. And that's where I think where it's challenged, and it's challenged not just for us as individuals, it's for organizations, it's for the church. I mean, let's be realistic. I'm in my mid-50s now. When I grew up 50 years ago, everything was centered around the church. The community, the entire Greek community, everything centered around the church, because we're still at a point generationally where we had significant populations in major cities, and you really didn't have the kind of the move into the suburbs and the expansion as you did probably in like the 70s and the 80s. So the church was the glue and the foundation for a long time, but again, even as we've become more and more entrenched and ingrained in this society, and you get to see what else is happening around you, and you go to school, and you meet other people, and then you go to work, and so you start to go towards areas that you feel that would enlighten you, and it's been, and of course it's and they've admitted it, it's been a challenge for the church to maintain the cohesion of our faith, in our community. The faith is always there. Right. Again, the Hellenism and Orthodoxy is always there, right? It's nobody's ever shut it out or closed the door on it. But as we've developed in this country, I think we haven't. Certain people have, certain groups have, but we haven't collectively made sure that it's still foremost, front and center. Yeah. And you can still do that. You know what? Even I talk to friends, and a lot of my friends are married to non-Greeks, married to non-Christians, and the ones that have successful marriages that are truly involved in the different communities are the ones that embrace it, are open to it, and have found the right fit for them. Meaning that they can appreciate, they can balance, and they can teach not only their spouses, but also their extended families and their children, that you've got, if it's multiple cultures, you have, benefits of a variety of different cultures that you can bring together and not lose sight of, I think, when I look at it today, and obviously one of the we talk about the church, right? And the church and our faith being very important. We talk about our culture and some of the things that we do, that, the way we celebrate holidays or the different intricacies that we like to do. And we've also language too. I mean, language was a lot more prominent here, even in the schools, even in the American school systems. Language, Greek language, and Latin, of course, were two of the primary languages, and that's kind of faded. And I think that behooves us as a community at large to kind of, bring that back as much as we can. Now, in the modern day world of technology and so forth, it's much easier to do that on your own. It's harder to convince a school system to, because again, schools are doing what they see has changed in society. And the influence of Spanish has been huge in this country. As the influence of some minor languages, like French is still a popular language here. You see a lot of now Mandarin, Chinese, because of the population changes here. So all that is schools are adapting to the times. I think where some schools still see the benefit and where the population can help is, I grew up always knowing that, and of course we take pride in the Greek language, that you learn the Greek language, it makes the English language much easier because of the derivative of words and roots, but also it makes education much easier because science and math is heavy in Greek. If you decide to go to college, right, you have to take the SAT. Again, it's a benefit to having the Greek language. So there's really no reason why we can't. The resources are there. Whether you want to find a tutor, you can find it locally or online. Whether you want to find an app, you can find it anywhere. Correct. You can even find, in major cities they do have, schools. Some schools do have classes and so forth. Yeah. Where, and again, this is getting to a bigger picture. Where I think we really need to, get much more assistance on is actually from Greece itself.
Yeah.
I mean, they've helped in the past in terms of sending over, there was a time when a lot of Greek language teachers came over here to work. They've sent over a lot of documentation. But, why not make it a much more feeling of celebration and something that's important to you as you're learning other languages? For that, especially for Greek families, for that to be a part of it. There's really never been any type of national push or and it's almost, and I see it through my own kids. I mean, I realize everyone's different. Because my wife is very fluent, I consider myself pretty efficient in the Greek language. We spoke to our children exclusively Greek, the first few years they're in our home.
Yeah.
Because we know once they get out in the real world, school, work, friends, it's English. That's the primary language. So, but the fact that they have some type of foundation is important for them.
Absolutely.
And I think I hate to say it, I think we've kind of discounted it to some extent.
I can see that.
That we've almost made it a chore.
Yeah.
You got to go to Sunday school, you got to go to Greek school, or you need to take tutoring online. We haven't presented it to them as something that it should be something
like you get to do instead of you have to do.
Exactly. And certainly families that are fortunate enough to go to Greece.
Well, I was going to say, going to Greece was the only reason I maintained my language.
Right, exactly. Right, and that's the other thing is, let's have a realistic viewpoint of this, right? You're not and I'm talking about Greek speakers from all over the world. Certainly the ones in Greece are fluent because that's all they speak.
Yeah.
But the Greek diaspora, you have to have if you really want to be fluent in a language, right? It's gonna be immersion. Because as much as you and I could spend 5-6 hours a day, if we even have that, to immerse ourselves in our houses or in our offices to learn a language, that phone rings. It's going to be an English speaking person, right? You go out to the market, grab a coffee.
You're not around it.
Everything's English. So, and where can you, maybe in the depths of certain Greek towns or Astoria, where you can actually find,
too, right?
You can find a pocket that's exclusively Greek. It's hard. So I think having unrealistic expectations as well. And, I think that's kind of another area where we should make it comfortable and something that's important. It's an important legacy for us, but the benefits are clear. The benefits are clear. Why learning that language? Not just because you want to go to Greece and speak to somebody, but how it actually can help you
as an individual,
learn, and learn better.
Yeah.
Never thought it that way, but
yeah, very good points.
And that's so getting again that we've talked a lot in a short time about about getting generations involved. Requires a team effort. It's individuals, of course, families, parents, but also the organizations that are established in this country, the organizations that are established in Greece.
Do you feel any hindrances these days compared to like the 60s, 70s, maybe even early 80s? Is there any change in what's hindering this kind of progress? And would it be like all 100% financial, or would it be lack of people caring, or the younger generations caring?
I think it's a lot of different.
I think it's a combination. There's a lot of elements.
Because you spoke before about Greece used to help a lot, but they don't now. Is that Greece's situation that hinders it? Is it like change in like how people come over here?
All that's relevant. I think
it's all relevant. I think
all that thing has an
it's a
impact.
combination. There's really not that you can always plan the future and you can always map things out, but there really never was maybe hardly any ethnic group has done it. I know some have attempted it and may actually have a blueprint. But how do you maintain, that relationship between the homeland and the diaspora, and what types of things do you want to make sure that they perpetuate? I don't think there ever was a formal plan put together by leaders in various countries, as well as looking at the Greek state and saying, all right, what do we need to do? We live outside. Because let's face it, let's look back at history. A lot of, my grandparents that came over here in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they left Greece for a reason, right?
Right.
They left because of better opportunities.
Yeah.
Because Greece was going through, becoming independent, going from a kind of a monarchy, being under, British rule, to trying to establish their own republic. civil wars were happening. Then you had the Balkan Wars, the World Wars. So for a lot of people that were there, they heard of the opportunities in this country. They left Greece, and unfortunately, there was no looking back. And then you had various waves post wars. You had the waves in the 70s here that came over during the juntas because of the Civil War and the change in governments, and finally establishing the democracy so. There never was and I don't think it was by design. It's just the way things evolved. There never was a other than family and culture related. There never was truly a relationship, close relationship at all levels, high levels, down below, between the various diaspora and the homeland. And I think they're seeing that now. I think part of it is the benefit of technology. You meet somebody in Greece today, you're friends for life.
Yeah.
Because of technology.
Makes it very easy.
I meet somebody, 30, 40 years ago when I'm in Greece. There were no cell phones. There was nothing video conferencing, nothing online. So how do you...
Even just regular calling.
I can't keep... There's no social media. How can you keep that relationship and know what that person is doing, right? Now you can. Anyone that goes to Greece now, they got friends for life. Even if they went for a week. Right. But anyone that goes abroad or goes on any type of immersion program... They have friends for life. And so you're building... So I think you're seeing... Certainly in this country, you're seeing... It's kind of the critical... Because you're seeing the statistics aren't good in the churches, right? And you're seeing that, people have left or have not baptizing their children anymore. So you're seeing, a lot of red flags. And I think a lot of organizations as well as individuals are saying, okay, we need to do something. And I think at the same time, you see the Greek state, which is going through its own changes...
Correct.
New government, new perspective, trying to be more openly outward versus introspective.
So,
again, that's another whole other change in just how the culture of people live and work and
simultaneously there's all this change happening on both sides.
Exactly.
As a culture here, as a country back there as a homeland. So, with all these changes happening so rapidly, the progression of disconnect is prominent now.
Right.
And we do have quite a bit of organizations that work successfully independently.
Right. On that note, I'm going to give an opinion, and I challenge anybody to discount this opinion, but it's individuals such as yourself who I feel are like the real like boots on the ground kind of grunt, like keeping this alive. Because honestly, my history is very, very deep rooted into the Greek culture here in America. Yours as well, obviously yours, Drake. And if we lost, like if you just woke up tomorrow and you're like, I don't really care about Greek stuff. I'm going to focus on my, my business and everything here. Like the Greek culture in America would lose a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
and it's the power of these individuals, and that's why it's something so amazing to me.
Sure.
And I'm sure everybody out there.
Like, and what? So it's. I mean, let's face it. I look at it as, and everybody has this. This has nothing to do with wealth, financial status. Has nothing to do with really how you were brought up. What part of the country you live in. It's all about, and everyone has it. That's what's great about this country, and sometimes we lose sight of it within our own families, is we all have a legacy, right? Every one of us has a certain legacy that you can trace to somewhere, right?
Right.
And so, when families are proud of that legacy and they try to find ways to perpetuate it, I think it charges it puts a solid, not only solid foundation, but it puts a charge, an energy level into you let's say when you're younger, if you're fortunate enough to hear stories and perspectives from your grandparents, and then you're watching your parents and how they live their lives and what's important to them. And so all that stuff, I think, it builds upon, and then the world around you has all its challenges and obstacles, and you get to see what's working around you, what's not working, and because you have the benefit of living in this country where it's easy to make changes, right?
Yeah.
I think first and foremost to me, it's always been kind of that's I have a legacy that was created for me by my forefathers, and the evolution was all from Greece. and I truly appreciate what they've done and what they've been able to pass along to us.
Yeah.
And I see that again as kind of as an obligation, so to speak, that's what I need to do through my own family. Now, I'm also fortunate because my wife's Greek American, right? Her parents were born in Greece. So we've got, where I realize we've become an anomaly, right? But we are, we have a clear path in front of us. Now, with our children, who knows what the future is going to hold.
Right.
But we're hoping that, again, how we've educated them and how we've lived our lives and what they see through us, that they see an example. So even if they marry somebody outside of the faith, there still is a part of them, right? There's still something that they want to lead, and something that they can.
And if your daughter married a BU guy, would that?
Well, that's now we got to draw a line. We got to draw a line in the sand.
That's too much.
No, if Greek BU guy can have it. But again, getting back to your point, it's frustrating for me because I've seen what my parents' generation has done in this country and what the sacrifices they made but also the generosity that they have, and it's not just here, but parents all across this country. What encourages me, and I feel probably even more pressure, which probably is a good thing, is given the crisis that's happened in our church the last few years, right? Given the obviously the crisis that's happened in Greece the last decade,
right?
And how that's been perceived, it's almost like there's a kink in our armor now, and we've developed a chip on our shoulder.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of it in my generation that and it's great because I see a lot of people like me, men and women all over this country that think the same way.
That's great.
That want to that this is a priority for them.
Absolutely.
That they want to not only do a better job in this country of keeping people connected, but also globally, and pushing and getting the pullback, which we have been already from our fellow Greeks, in Greece, and saying, we need your help. I mean, I know you're in a crisis mode and you're trying to get out of a crisis and you need as much assistance as possible, but we also doesn't have to be just monetary. We need things for you to help us perpetuate as well. So, and I think that bridge, so to speak, is much better, or at least the connection is much better than it ever has been. It still has a ways to go, though. This is not, we're going to have this challenge. This is a challenge that lasts eternity. But if we have that foundation built in and we have those connections that can endure and can be long lasting, then we have a good chance of again maintaining that and preserving it and perpetuating. The other thing which I didn't touch on, which we all know, again, another benefit that we should be proud of for our ethnic group is because of that rich history and culture and the education. We have so many Philhellenes that are passionate and dedicated to speaking about Greek history, Greek culture, Greek architecture, Greek art, everything, and that is already, it's established in our mainstream, right? It's in our lives. It's a major fabric of major cities. It's in major universities. It's part of the educational system. So that in and of itself is a very important asset that we have to continue to utilize, but also embrace and empower. You have various levels of Philhellenes. We're talking about more the academic ones, but you have the Philhellenes going back in history that helped Greece, right, through wars and so forth.
Sure.
Now you have, realistically, Philhellenes are the spouses, right?
Yeah.
Modern day Philhellene is, of course, it's the perpetuation of the education and the academic world. But modern day Philhellenes, you see, many of our spouses that are active in our churches that are non-Greek or that have converted and are, doing other things. So
correct.
That they're the Philhellenes that are also carrying the ball forward. And we need to be, working hand in hand with them because a lot of them appreciate the culture just as much as we have, and they don't have any Greek blood in them.
And it's a great point that you made because I sometimes don't think of that, but it's a very true thing.
To Drake's point, the whole support factor, being in the church and getting involved, is also from my personal experiences. At some point, we were younger, single, we were part of so many events. We go out, and then you get married. then you start a family, and then there's this moment where things slow down for you, and you're not
Right.
showing up to church every Sunday, and you're not attending that event that you used to go all the time.
Of course, yep.
And you're declining invitations to fundraisers because you look back like, wow, I have so many things going on. But if we really put this into perspective, if our parents also lived busy lives, probably busier than we did,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they never said, we don't have time for this. They always made a point that
Exactly.
we're going to do this.
Right.
So then I said to myself, you know what? I need to also start thinking the same way. Make it a point to attend, because if we don't, then how many others out there that are unfortunately behaving the same way,
Right.
that are not showing up? So making that cautious effort will make a difference, and to go to,
I mean, it all begins in the individual.
Right.
And, going back to what we said, individuals such as yourself, Drake, are like such a big motivational factor for all the rest of us to kind of look and see what's happening, what's needed. And everybody can do something. Some people can do more than others, but everybody can do something.
Of course.
And that's all we would need. Just
And
everybody
you know what?
to be...
Again, sometimes, unfortunately, you need to have a crisis in your life to have which translates into a wake-up call, and to start looking at not the negative side of things, but what are the opportunities now that this creates? What can we do now that we should have been doing in the past? And I think everything's I mean, you've got, again, so early I realize that you've got, new government in Greece that seems to be very open-minded and wants to do what they can to help the diaspora. You have a new archbishop now who seems to be, again, very progressive in terms of knowing what's going on around him and what the issues are within the church and how we can do a better job. And then you have a number of organizations locally, regionally, and national that are kind of been able to fill kind of those gaps. And so it's going to, again, it's at the end of the day, it's going to entail having everybody working together in whatever way they can, and not, trying to go back to where we were 50, 100 years ago, because that's gone. We're in a new, this is a new world now. And so working together and again, having those touch points. The other thing where, again, I talked about a blueprint or a map for the future. That's another area where, giving the resources that are out there today, that we should be, obviously not a map in terms of you put something in front of a child, but one of the biggest challenges in my generation growing up was not where you were at, when you were younger, in elementary school. It's really once you got beyond high school, because, the church had done a very good job of establishing programs to keep our families engaged up until college. Whether it was on, Goya basketball or Goya social cultural activities, Sunday school, Greek school, church services, camps, everything. Ionian Village.
Yes.
Right. And then when you get to college, it kind of, that's when, because of just folks going off on their own and having the freedom, that's where the young adult, it's kind of, that's where you have a hard time at keeping
Good
happens
point.
to all of us. It's
Good
not
point,
just, even the, that's,
we were guilty of it.
I look back in my life, that was my time where to me, it was almost like I needed, not a break, I hate to use that word, but it was time for me to look at doing other things. And, because I had grown up in the church, I was involved, Goya, altar, basketball, and I wanted to, I got into college now, and that was still important to me, of course, but I wanted to, see what else was out there in the world. Right. And so things. That part, has changed because, again, because of mixed marriages and faith and so forth, not everyone now grows up through the church. Yeah. And so organizations need to collectively kind of put a roadmap together out there so that parents know, where, the different kind of trails are. Yeah. Because there's secular and non-secular activities out there, and you should be able to be able to bridge them so they know that, if you whatever path you follow, you're still going to be staying within, versus losing them forever. Are they aware of Ionian Village? Are they aware of study abroad to Greece? Are they aware of immersion programs to Greece? Are they aware of a lot of organization that has young professionals, new leaders, all this type of stuff? Are they aware of that, those opportunities that are there for them? And how can we as organizations make sure? Because we have to be outward looking as well. I can't just be focused on what my organization or the organizations I'm involved with do, because I know that's not a path for everybody.
Correct.
Yeah.
But if I know and I keep open relations with other organizations, and I say, you know what, this person's graduating from college, they're really not interested in what I'm doing, but I know they're going to be interested in what you're doing. So let me put you in touch with them and let them follow that path. And it could be broad, or it could be specific to a certain field of study, an industry, an area of interest. That's where I think we have to do a better job of showing the next generation and the younger generations that there is a way to keep you engaged and not forced. Not force it through. You have to do this, and this. There's plenty of opportunity out there to keep folks engaged in areas of interest.
Well, I was talking to Fati, ever since I had my son, I was like, it's so depressing to think that he's not going to be going to Greece like every other summer like I did.
Exactly.
Those are the it's a little difficult, but those are the fondest, most amazing, like I'll even say magical memories I have as me, an individual. And I'm like, he's not going to get that. Right. I mean, we'll go to Greece at some point, but it's not like I went to Greece for 3 months every other summer.
Yep.
And it was the most amazing thing.
Right.
He's not going to get that. How could I get him to do that?
It's another challenge for you as a parent, but also the challenge for the organization around you is to make sure that they have, a full breadth of products and services. I don't want to use a business sense, but they have the programs and the tools and resources for you to say, all right, I'm interested. Example. Okay, there's Goya basketball. If you love basketball, you can go through basketball that way, right? Or I want to study abroad. Okay, perfect. You can study abroad to Greece. So there's different ways, of finding different connections through various organizations.
And for somebody like me, those would be key. If I could send him to a camp in Greece, or
exactly. I mean, now there's thematic stuff that's going on. I mean, there's basketball camps over there now that are bringing U.S. kids over. I'm sure there's some of the soccer camps have come here, like Olympiacos has a thing with the Metropolis.
Wow.
They also have a program out in Chicago. They actually have an academy. So locally, you need to be aware of what's happening. And if your son, daughter plays soccer, there's an opportunity. Again, you can't force it upon them, but if it's something that they love doing, sports, academically, whatever their interests are, you should be able to find something, a program or something that has that, and that again, that in and of itself won't transform them, because it starts at home. If you've introduced that foundation to them, even if you're half Greek or not partly Greek, if you're at least introducing some of the basics to them at home through how you live your life, that if your child goes into school and loves painting or drawing, all right, what do? You pick them up and you bring them to the MFA and say, look at this is stuff that originated back in our homeland,
right?
Or if they love sports, what do? You take them, whatever, you take them to a camp, or there's plenty of things that are out there that organizations have provided for us.
So it starts at home.
Of course, it always starts at home.
Education, information, knowledge of what is available to people is a key tool, I think, because like I said, I would love my son to be able to go to Greece often. I probably won't be able to go over as a family like we did, but these programs are out there, so we need to get the word out on these programs. Everybody should know about them. And the individual caring about his culture and doing whatever he can do within his means. We need everybody to do that.
At the end of the day, and again, trips and whatever, there's no greater... I mean, if you're fortunate enough where you actually have families,
on the other
Greek
side.
Families here in the United States, friends or family that you can, get together a lot, and that brings families closer. But, when they get to that certain age, obviously now it seems to get younger every year. The social media age, when they become, adept at using social media and starting to understand it and communicating. It doesn't take much. I mean, certainly, going abroad for a couple months when they're in college, or going to Ionian Village, or taking an immersion trip, that's really will transform you.
Yeah.
And they'll make connections. But even if they go on vacation for a week or two, and they're meeting family, friends over there, and they're instantly connected. And so that adds another element. I've got my Greek friends. I've got my really Greek friends. And
it's really a feeling
that's how
you
they
can't
learn.
describe if you haven't experienced it.
Right.
And that's why I really want him to experience it. That's your kids. And
Absolutely.
I'm assuming your kids have experienced that, which is the best thing ever.
Right. Another thing too, you can't give up. It's like I said, it's not only a a family, ongoing family, challenge. It's a challenge for everybody, the community, everything. You just can't give up. You just got to keep. Again, you can't. When your children get older, you can't force things upon them. But the advantage you have is, as a parent, when they're under your umbrella, under your control for, the first 10, 12, 15, whatever years of their life, you can influence them by not only what you say to them, but how you live your life, how you're active, what you do,
what you're involved
and
with.
they'll pick up on these things, and they'll see that that's something important for mom and dad, or mom or grandmother or grandfather or yaya, papa, whatever, and so you try to create as best as you can a foundation for them, and then you expose them along the way, and so. Because once they're adults, they're going to start choosing the direction they want to go in.
But if they have that good root.
It's always going to be there. But again, you have to continue. It has to be, even for me. I mean, I'm always learning new things. I'm always finding new things. I'm always, even to this day, I'm still learning new words in Greek, and it's
awesome.
But it's great that you're so vested and interested.
Yeah. I mean, I get frustrated just like everybody else. Nothing's perfect, of course. I mean, I wish things could be better, but at least I feel confident in the fact that what I'm doing, what friends of mine are doing, what communities are doing, are being as positive and as really efficient as they can. But we still have a long ways to go.
And all of us.
Which is probably not a bad thing either, because again, it keeps you motivated and it keeps you.
But we as a Greek, just two Greek guys, are very appreciative for all the stuff that you do for our culture. Without you guys, it would be a much tougher battle.
Yeah, excellent.
And all our listeners who are not Greek, you're now officially Phil Hellenes.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, support the culture.
And then, even though this is a wine podcast that actually brings interesting and fun guests, the last thing we want to kind of bring to light from Drake is, what does Drake drink for wine? Right?
Sure. You know what? I
preferences?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. My preferences usually when I'm not a big collector of wines. We do collect things we like to drink.
Nice.
I like really. I mean, I like all types of wines. I'm willing to try. Different varieties, different grapes,
both
different regions, reds, everything, blends, everything.
Anything lately
my go-to has always been, I always like really, really full-bodied reds, which primarily are Cabernets, and as well as blends. But I really like a heavy red, rich, full red wine.
Where have I heard that before?
I mean, I enjoy. At the same time, I enjoy. When it's summertime and you're outside, I enjoy a nice cold, white wine, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc. I try again because I tried it through you guys, of course, through Forti primarily. I try to take advantage of the Greek wines and spirits, and
as well you should,
and do that and experiment. And obviously, there's a lot of good ones.
That, wine did originate in Greece, even though that's a debatable comment. But I mean, we have a history of winemaking, lots of great wines.
Exactly.
But even as Greek and Greek Americans, we enjoy all wines altogether. But it's, as Drake has mentioned, that there is a variety of wines that are out there. You can try so many different styles.
Sure.
Being adventurous is obviously always recommended because you don't know what you're missing if you don't try something.
Exactly. Right. And that's the beauty of it. You get to try wines. You get to try. Anywhere you go, you can try something different.
Right.
There's always new, and obviously every year things change. It's not, you have a Coke today, it's going to taste the same Coke next week, next year, and
good point.
whatever. And so, wine is great because you get to experiment, and it's obviously it has some health benefits for you as well, which is important.
Absolutely. We did a recent podcast where we talk about wine and dieting, and it's a surprising thing, but there are health benefits. And never avoid wine. No. I mean, you could always do too much. Moderation is good.
Like anything else, right?
Wine is good.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Drake, we wanted to thank you for spending this amount of time with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Definitely going to be out there supporting all the various different initiatives that
You
you're
have
a
to.
part of.
You have to, and everybody out there, anywhere you can, jump in. It's only good. It's only good. There's no bad. There's no
Right.
bad in supporting a culture.
Exactly.
There's no bad in supporting
Exactly.
other people and other humanity.
Right.
Other humans, yeah.
All right. Well,
Thank you, Drake. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you
We'll
both.
see you on the next episode.